what's interesting to me about the user interface Atari created here is that there's a slight kind of delay to everything. So from my perspective, I think that the Xbox's dashboard and the PlayStation's dashboard are much faster and more fluid. This one, it's not a criticism per se, it's just a difference. Like, this dashboard does things kind of in this deliberately like clicky fashion. Like, you push a button and then it does it. The other, Xbox and PlayStation, I've always found to be more fluid and the response time to be way faster. Nintendo Switch as well, not to leave Nintendo out. But here you can see the game store. So this is the game store for the VCS, and I'll go ahead and show you kind of all the games that are here. Sadly there aren't that many of them. So you can see it at top, they have this featured section where they'll show you kind of a series of games. I think some of these were recently released. Atari 50 is not that recent, but I think it's kind of some Atari games, some more recently released games. And of course, recently released to the VCS, because games like Berserk 2600 is not a new game, clearly, but I think it may be new to the VCS as a downloadable title. Heroes of Loot 2, I believe, might be fairly new. Skinny and Franco is pretty much brand new. It came out a couple days ago, I think. And then I don't know when Escape from Popo released, but that could be brand new as well. So this could be kind of the new game section, and then they throw in a couple things like AKR and Atari 50 at the end just to keep kind of promoting them. But it's kind of interesting. And then down here, games, you can kind of see all of them. So let's just go into the see all category, and I'll run you through all the games on this platform here. So I think these are default in order of release date. I believe I double checked because I did, because you can sort it. So if you look up at the top, you hit the left trigger. I'm sorry, there you go. Use the start button. There you go. So you can see, you can kind of sort by all these various things, and I sorted before by newest. I wanted to see kind of what was the newest on the system, and when I did that, didn't seem like really anything changed. So I think it's already default sorting by the newest. Although you can see Escape from Popo dropped to the second spot, behind Skinny and Franco in this view versus the featured view where it was the first. So, but I'm interested to try out some of these games. I'm going to look up a few and see if they're exclusive or not. I think there might be a few that are either timed exclusives, or there could be a few. I know there's not many, but there could be a few that are exclusive, but I'll run that down and find out and let you know. Okay, so we have Skinny and Franco, Heroes of Loot 2, Gunslugs 2, and if you go into a game, so like, if you don't know this one, let's go into Heroes of Loot 2. I was looking earlier. So it gives you this overall kind of view of the game, what controllers it's compatible with, because there is a classic looking Atari controller, and then there's a controller that Atari had created for it that looks like an Xbox controller, basically, but it's in Atari colors. It's probably why the Series S controller works so well. But if we look here, you can just buy it. And then if we scroll down, like you move down with the control pad, then you get like screenshots and you get like videos. And then if you go down one more, you get some details about the game, size and different things. There's not a lot of memory available on this system. So, and then they bring up some related titles to this game. I haven't dug into it to see like how good the suggestions are, but you do get some related titles. So similar to other platforms. Now, one thing I'm noticing, I don't see any details on reviews. Although maybe, let's see, go in here. I see the start button on the side, game info, multimedia. So you have some tabs if you want to quickly go to the different areas. That's pretty cool. I love how they've referenced the Atari kind of color rainbow palette thing that sometimes they use. I think that's pretty cool. All right, let's go back. But there's ratings you can see there, but there's no ratings in each game, so you can't read the review someone wrote. So that's a little disappointing, because sometimes that's pretty important. Yeah, I don't see anywhere where you can do that. It's a little disappointing, but at least they have some kind of rating from somewhere. I don't know where it comes from either. That's the other question. Where does the rating come from? I'll have to see if I have an option to review games that I've purchased, because maybe they do gate it based on whether you've purchased a game. That would make a lot of sense. This game looks pretty cool, though. It looks almost like a Metal Slug kind of Contra thing with like more pixelized graphics. So that's interesting. Very simplistic, though. I mean, much more simplistic than... I mean, I play these types of games all the time, and this game is a lot blockier looking than most of the retro-ish games that I have played recently. But doesn't mean it's not a ton of fun. So that's something I may have to try out later. Let's see, Berserk. And that's just... Berserk is literally, show you here, it's the Atari 2600 game. See? If you remember this classic, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not bad to have it on here. It's a lot of fun. But $3.99, I mean, I'm sorry, $2.99, $3 essentially seems a little high for a straight port of an old Atari game. Because you can get, probably not Berserk in this collection, but you can get some of these older games in different collections way cheaper than $3 a game. So the fact that it's $3 here for this one game, it definitely makes me less inclined to just, I'm just going to buy that in 2 seconds. If it were like 99 cents, I probably would have already bought it, because I really like that game. Caverns of Mars I played on the Switch. It's not the greatest remake. It's like a reimagining. I actually like the original better. Path to Princess I haven't checked out yet. I don't know what this is. Yeah, who knows? Doesn't look that exciting, but who knows? We'll see. Now, Atari Mania I haven't played yet. I've heard varying things on it. Apparently it's supposed to be, and it's for multiple platforms, it's supposed to be like, it sounds to me like a WarioWare type like minigame thing, where you play minigames based on the classic Atari properties. So like here you can see an adventure type game, but with remade graphics and things. But I don't think they're full remakes of games. It's like in this one, maybe it's you see these enemies, it'll be like collect the key before the enemies kill you, and like you have to run over and grab the key, and then it goes to the next screen. And you can see there's 19 seconds in the bottom down there. I think that's the way it might work. So so it's interesting. So Megadroid, and then when you get to the bottom, you have to load like more games. So that's also, like, I know Xbox and PlayStation, they have to load, but when you when you would get down to this line in the user interface, or Nintendo, they all do it. You scroll down one, and then it just loads. You don't have to push a button to load. So it's a little odd that they went through this choice, but it's okay. And then we have games like Space Grunts, which I don't know what that is either. A lot, but you can see a lot of these are like retro-ish games. I mean, they probably guessed people that were buying this system had an affinity for retro games. Doesn't seem like much of a leap, right? And then Yars Return, Saboteur, and Aquaventure I had seen online before, because these are games, I think they call it in their Atari X series. And these were games that were, I think, never released back in the day, but they were like prototyped. And so they've gone and kind of finished the games and then released them. And so here's the Yars Revenge game. Looks very similar to the original. You know, I may have to pick these up because at least the digital ones are affordable. Like $2.99 for these, I think, is reasonable because they didn't really exist in a different format. They're not available on, I don't know if any other collections, or maybe not many other collections. And Atari's been selling physical carts of these, but they're like $60 each. They're really cool. They come with a box and books and everything, but they're not cheap. So this is a case, like for me, $3 for a game I can play here on the Atari VCS, and I would like games to play on this system because I bought it. I think these are a better deal. Where some of the other games, like that Berserk one, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, but I can get that game in multiple formats. So, and then Yars Recharged is one of those newer Atari games in the Recharged series. So it's kind of like a reimagining of the old game. I may have to give this one a shot. I never particularly loved Yars back in the day. Like, it wasn't one of the ones I don't think I even had on my Atari 2600. But I know it's very popular. It's one of the more famous games from Atari. Artwork's awesome. So I'm interested to see how the Recharged one is. And again, if I'm going to buy a Recharged game, I'm more likely to buy it here for the Atari VCS console than I would like on Switch or something else. Let's just check out Appleloon. Some of these I haven't checked out yet. I'm curious what they look like. So this one's $4.99. I'm guessing it's probably fairly simplistic. Looks pretty simplistic. I don't know what you do. I didn't read the description. Let's see. Standalone adventure, single player couch co-op game. You play astronauts hired as asteroid miners on a mission to make space bucks. Could be fun. I don't know. I'm guessing that is not an exclusive game, but I'll check it out. But the good thing is, if it's not, then there's probably reviews on Steam. And there's even reviews right here. You can see the 32 4-star. 4-star is not bad, but I'm guessing 4 stars on this system kind of equate to maybe it's not the best. Mainly I say that because you see other games and it has, like, many of these games have a straight 5 stars. So I'm guessing people are kind of saying, look, either it's a really good game and they just liked it and they gave it 5 stars, or it's not as great and so they knocked it down a notch. Fast Break. I don't know if this might be, so this is from Accolade. Maybe this is like a computer version of it, like this isometric view. Like, I did see a few games in here that look like they are actual, like, older computer games that they ported. They're not console games. I'll show you those. I know they're down further. I'll show you in a minute. This is a Lost Arcade game. Or, I'm sorry, they've positioned it like it's a Lost Arcade game. So, like, imagine this was a Lost Arcade game released today. So it sounds like it wasn't, but they kind of created it like one of those old arcade games. Could be interesting. And it's priced right, $5, so it's not bad. Let's see this one. Oh, that's kind of interesting, like a kind of 1-bit pixel looking game. That's kind of a cool look. It's very sketched. Huh. And then Gravitaire Recharged. That's another one of these Atari games. It looks pretty cool, actually. Huh. Let's give that one a try. All right, and then going down further, so you have some older games. So Adventure, the famous game for Atari. And see, that's 99 cents. Come on, Berserk, what are you doing? So that's the classic. Tempest 4000. I think that's the one that was for the Jaguar. I think. Doesn't really say. No, maybe this is the newer one. I'm sorry. This might be the newer one they created. I remember there was one for, like, PlayStation and stuff that was released later. This looks like that, I'm guessing. Either way, it looks pretty cool, so may have to try that one out. The old Gravitaire. So if people can get the new one and get the old one. The only thing, not to go on a soapbox for a second, the only thing about these recharged games that kind of annoys me is I wish they had made them like little mini Atari collections where it's like, here's the recharged game, here's an emulation of the old game, here's some information historically about the game, like made it more of like a package around that game to really create like context. Now, maybe a lot of people don't care at all about the context for those games, but to me, sometimes, like, that's what makes them special is the context. It's not, just the fact you can watch them. So, and then, so these. So, like, for instance, this one says DOSBox. I'm guessing this literally runs in the program DOSBox for your PC. So this is an old, like, computer game that ran in Microsoft DOS that they've ported to this. Like Harrier Jump Jet. And if that's true, so this is the kind of stuff, like, if what I just said and what I assume is true, I don't know if people, whether people value this or not is another question in my mind. But the fact that they've gone and ported PC games, classic PC games that never got console releases, to a console you can play on your couch, hooked up to your TV, I think is pretty cool, assuming they work well. So I think that's pretty neat. And I mean, they could port way more games than they've done so far. Now you can see the reviews aren't the best of these games, so I don't know how well they control. I may have to buy one just to see how they are. Like, I'll do some research and pick the best one and see how it is. They don't look like the greatest examples of what a PC game ported to a console could be. But still, I think it's interesting, nevertheless. And then they have a bunch of 7800 games, which I think is that's pretty cool. I never owned a 7800 back in the day, so I think it's kind of neat that I can finally try some of those games the way that they're supposed to be on the Atari 7800. And they're $3 each. I mean, I still would argue that's a little expensive for a game that old, but here's Asteroids for the 7800. Doesn't look much by today's standards, but man, if you look back to Asteroids on the 2600 or some of the older systems, that's a pretty big upgrade. And then they have the Recharge here right next to it, which I think I do have that on another system. It's pretty cool. A bunch of other 7800 games I don't think I've ever tried, so I'm probably not going to just buy them all immediately since they're $3 each. And then some of these are in the Atari collection, the Atari 50 celebration. So like Ninja Golf, that's in the Atari 70, the Atari 50 celebration collection. So I already know that because I played it there. I don't know if the others are not. I'll have to put together maybe a little brief article or something and just kind of catalog which of these are unique to VCS and which of these are in that Atari 50 celebration. Because it does seem kind of like overkill if you already bought that collection. They have Dark Chambers. I think it's cool that this option exists. So you can see, not probably not even close to every game in the Atari 78 catalog, but a decent number. And this must be another, just like a puzzle game. Yeah, this is a more modern puzzle game. Centipede Recharge, Basketball, Airy, you've probably seen before. I know I've seen that on Nintendo Switch and things like that. And then you can see they have GeForce Now, which, is that another cloud gaming service? Oh, I guess it is. So it's another cloud gaming service. I've never used that one, but that's kind of cool. So you see, you have GeForce Now, you have Luna, and Xbox. None of these have great ratings, so I guess we'll see how they go. Let's see what else we have here. One thing I want to show you is that, sadly, there's not a lot of games on here. You go onto the Switch eShop or any other eShop, and you're assaulted with thousands of games, and that's definitely not the case here. Now, Jetboard Joust I have on the Switch. I'm not going to buy it again on this, but it is an awesome retro style game. It is very, very cool. It's very much done like Defender, but it's way more accessible than Defender, and you can see from the screenshots it's very cool looking. Excellent game. I highly recommend it. It goes on sale on Switch all the time. I highly recommend, if it's on sale, picking it up. It's also fun for $10, but it's more fun for $3. Degeneration. Oh, for the Apple II. It was developed for the Apple II, but instead it was released for MS-DOS and the Atari ST. And you can see the controller compatibility. If you see, it's not compatible with that classic looking Atari controller. You see just the one icon there. It's only the Xbox type controller. So again, I think it's kind of cool they have some of these games in here that are They're from like PC. They're not even, what is this? The original Utopus launched 30 years ago in '93. It's a multiplayer spaceship arena fighting game. So this is from 1993, which, yeah, I could believe that. It's interesting looking though. Huh. I never played it back in '93. Looks pretty cool. Now I heard Boulder Dash Deluxe when I was doing a little research. I think this one either is exclusive or it might have launched exclusive and maybe now it's not. But I think this might be one of the ones. And it's like a remake, reimagining of the classic game Boulder Dash. Doesn't look that great. This reminds me of Xbox 360 era graphics. I don't know why. Like, I feel like there were a lot of these types of games on the 360. It's hard to even describe the art style other than like horrific 3D models. Like, they just look kind of scary and evil dollish. There were a lot of those in 360. So, but that's another one that might be exclusive. Sir Love-A-Lot, I think also I heard might be exclusive. I'll have to find out. It's a cool looking little pixel art type platformer. It does look pretty neat. I like the graphic style. So I'll have to check that out. And then we go down here. Mutea Zone, you may have even tried on, I think it was on Game Pass or it was on Switch. Siggy here, I have this on something already. Might be my phone. It's actually pretty fun. It's not hard at all. I beat the game very easily. I think I do have it on my phone. So it's like a comical version of Ghouls and Ghosts, and it's not that hard. It's well done. Actually, I do recommend it. Like, if you like games that are kind of funny and it's cheap, like, and short, it's not bad at all. Frog Hop. Wow, we get one picture. There's one picture, and that green blob looks like it might be a frog. That's great. Thrustlander, I think, as well, might have launched as an exclusive. This might be a game you have to see in motion. Like, the screenshots don't look great. Like, they look, I mean, at first glance, it just looks like one of those like 99-cent Xbox shop games where like someone literally built it in 5 minutes, or it's like a student project from like a C student. Like, not well made at all. But to be fair, some of these games you have to play it to see if it's good. And then what's interesting is this is the normal mode, and they do have this Atari 2600-ish retro mode built in, which I think is interesting. So I'll do a little more research on that one. I may get it and include some gameplay, but I did read that about it. And then this is the one I told you, Missile Command, that launched in 2020. And then you even saw this is Recharge 2020, and then there's another Recharge like up here, which I think is the one that released later on that was multi-platform. Yeah, this one right here. But this one down here looks to me from the cover like it's the same one I have on my iPhone, which is not a bad thing. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see. I like Missile Command a lot. It's hard as hell, but I like it. But then, sadly, like I was saying before, this is the end of the road. There are no other games in this store. So, on the one hand, am I sad that, see, and I had an error. Am I sad that there aren't like 10,000 shovelware games on here? Not really. I mean, that doesn't really do anyone any good. But could it have some more games by now? Like, I feel like they could just port a lot more games for this. And there's some games I played, kind of like that Jetboard Joust game, that I feel like belong on Atari. Like, they're spiritual successors to Atari that seem like no-brainers. Colt Canyon's one of them. Devastator is an awesome, what I would call Atari-like. This game looks pretty cool, actually. that they have like modern graphics, but they're like, and even for some reason the game Res Infinite, like to me seems, I don't know why, I can't put my finger on it, but it seems like an Atari game to me. Like it just feels like an Atari game. I would love to see those games on here. And then you come to the very end, and this is where the Vault comes installed. These two come installed, and Stream Arcade, Atari VCS Vault. Those come installed. Vault 2 I purchased. The reviews aren't the best, but I want to just give it a shot. It says it has 14 vintage Atari arcade games, 16 5200 titles, which I had the 5200. That was actually the Atari system I had. I had the 5200 with the 2600 adapter. So I never had a 2600 back in the day, but I've since purchased one. But I love those games, so I'm hoping there'll be some I really like in this collection. Then it has 12 2600 games from M Network. They made a bunch of games, I don't know if you remember them, but a lot of games from M Network. And then it has 8 prototype games or limited edition homebrew games for the 2600. So I can't wait to see what those are, because some of those homebrew games, I have played them, and they're pretty amazing. Like, the things people have learned to do are pretty incredible. Now, Air Console, what is... Air Console is the new way to play together with friends. Don't need to buy anything. Air Console. I don't know what that is. Huh. Maybe certain games you can play together? Like another game service? I don't know. I don't know what Air Console is. But hey, I wish it does. I mean, it's free, so let's download it and see what it is. Why not? You can see how that works. So you can see it only started. Look, so the internal storage of this machine is 22.83 gig. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's not high at all. So while when you click to download, if it had taken longer, you can just push the B button and back out of it. You don't have to wait for it, which is good. I mean, that's kind of expected in 2023, but you never know. Spearmaster. That's interesting. You must shoot the spear straight up, I guess. Okay. I mean, interesting. But also, as you can see, there's no killer games on this console. Like, none of them are what you would call a must-have game. None of them. Like, they don't even come close. Because they exist in other places. Like, Residual looked cool, but I think this might be a multi-platform as well, but I'm not sure, actually. I'll check. Because this game looks pretty cool, but none of these, you can see, right? Like, none of these are, like, system seller killer games. I mean, I bought this console mainly because I'm a collector of certain retro gaming things, but this console was $300. Like, it's not cheap. Like, you can buy a Nintendo Switch for $300 and you get a lot more game. So that's the only thing that's kind of disappointing, is that they haven't really, and I get they don't have like the user base, but how do you get a user base without games? Like, every game company has run into that. You can make the greatest hardware ever, but if you don't have games, the heck do you do with it, you know? And then here, I guess, on the Friends tab is where you would have friends and invite them. Then we have all this kind of setting information. So it's interesting. I mean, it's pretty cool.